What if you can make working out consistently as easy as binge watching One Piece? 99% of people who start working out stop after 1 month of trying. It's not because they're not motivated, it's because they never learn to rewire their brain. So in this video, I'm gonna show you every tactic you can do today to reprogram your brain to crave working out and actually start training consistently. And the best part is, you only need 1 or 2 tactics to make this work. Before we get into the first tactic, let me ask you something first. See, Tanjiro would not train a single day in his life if his family didn't get slayed by demons and his sister didn't turn into one. So why would he bother risking his life slaying demons and hunting down Muzan? He could be better off enjoying life with his family and having a great time out in the countryside. And this concept applies to us as well. Here's the thing that most people miss about working out. It's way more than just looking good. It's about having a bigger reason than yourself. My advice, don't wait for Muzan to come over to your house and ruin your day, just so you have an excuse to actually take care of yourself and train. Which is why the first tactic in this video is to unleash your purpose. So I want you to ask yourself right now, who or what are you doing this for? What is the bigger reason that you're improving yourself outside of your own self-interest? If you're saying things like, I just want a six-pack, I think it will be fun, I don't know, just because I can, that motivation is going to disappear the second things get hard. But if you're doing this to protect the people who are around you, to be an inspiration for your kids or your future kids, to be the guy that your partner looks at and feels genuinely safe with, or to actually have the health and strength so that you can show up for people who depend on you, that's the kind of fuel that doesn't run out. And it doesn't have to be this like big grandiose thing either. Your purpose can be whatever you want, so long as it's beyond yourself and it's something worth fighting for. Maybe you didn't come up with anything right off the bat, but here's a fact that's going to help you figure out your purpose. Whether you know it or not, you are going to be somebody's role model one day. Someone in the near future is going to look up to you to be their reliable leader, and you need to decide what kind of leader you want to be. So find your reason, write it down, and fight for it just like a protagonist. But if purpose doesn't light a fire under you, then this next tactic definitely will. I want you to think about some of the most tragic what ifs in anime. What if Sung Jin-woo never entered the double dungeon and never leveled up? What if Itadori never learned to control his cursed energy? What if Midoriya was completely lazy and did not practice using One for All? Pretty bad endings, right? Now, these aren't hypotheticals. They represent the version of these characters that chose comfort over growth. And that version of themselves would be absolutely cooked, and the anime would be horrible, which is why the next tactic is to figure out your bad ending. So here is a good exercise. Write down exactly what will happen to you if nothing changes. Not in like this self-hate way, but in a realistic bad ending sort of way. For a lot of guys, this is what it's going to look like. You look in the mirror and feel nothing but disappointment. Your kids don't look up to you. The people you love don't feel protected when they're near you. And you spend your whole life wondering what could have been if you just started. One of our community members even messaged me after going on holiday. He said that he saw some shady figures on the street, and while thankfully nothing happened, he realized something. If somebody came up to him and wanted to rob him or hurt him, or God forbid, his family, he genuinely couldn't do a single thing about it. And he felt like an NPC in his own life. So if Mahito jumped you right now, and you were just some schmuck with 0 training, you wouldn't stand a chance. You gotta use that bad ending as fuel. Let that make you feel uncomfortable and drive you to become the best you can be. But what if I try and the bad ending still happens? That doesn't matter in the slightest. Always remember it like this. I love this quote. Icarus laughed as he fell, for he knew to fall means to have one's sword. Think about that for a moment. Now here's a tactic that is massively underrated, and most people never think about it. Think about what the Culling games did to every single character in JJK. Nobody signed up for it. This was an unconsensual game, but the moment the environment changed and the stakes were raised, everybody was forced to grow. Maki had her own glow-up arc the second she went back to the Zenin family. Fushiguro came up with more elaborate and calculated plans under pressure, and Itadori freaking went beyond plus ultra in those fights. And don't get me started on Yuta. Oh, do not get me started on Yuta. Like, look at this boy. He's wrecking face everywhere he goes. See, none of that growth happened because they were comfortable. It happened because the environment demanded it. And it worked exactly the same way for us, which is why the next tactic is to change your environment. The environment that you spend the most time in shapes you into who you are going to become. If your environment feels like training is just the natural default, you're probably going to train. If your environment is a reward for laziness, you're probably going to be lazy. So start engineering your environment to take that path of least resistance and start actually getting in the mood to train. Sleep in your gym clothes if you have to. Pour your gym bag right in front of the door and surround yourself with people who want the same thing that you do. This is why the Shonen Strength community exists. Look at these amazing guys. They didn't get the results because they were isolated in their room doing push-ups. They got them because they actually put themselves in the environment surrounded by people who push each other each and every single day. If you want your physique to reflect these guys, the link is in the description. Now, let's talk about the biggest hurdle when it comes to working out consistently. And it's not the workout itself. Think about every protagonist's journey. There's always that one inciting moment that kicks off the whole adventure. For Sung Jin-woo, it was the double dungeon. For Tanjiro, it was his first night of training. And for Itadori, it was jumping right into the action with zero hesitation. But getting to that inciting moment in the first place is very difficult. Like, why would you, the weakest hunter, want to go and register to fight literal God? Makes no sense. The most difficult thing for all these characters isn't the journey itself, but it's really starting the journey in the first place. And for us, it's exactly the same concept. The biggest barrier isn't the workout. It's actually just starting the workout. So here's the tactic I use, which is stupidly simple, but it works for stupid people just like me. I call it the 1 set rule. Just do 1 set. Literally it. All you gotta do. Very simple. Whether that's just 1 set of push-ups, 1 set of pull-ups, a set of squats, doesn't matter. Just tell yourself, I'm gonna do 1 set. And here's what happens 90% of the time. You do 1 set and you realize, oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought. I was overreacting. This isn't as scary as I made it out to be. And you end up doing the whole workout anyway. And plus the other 10% of the time, hey, at least you did something. 1 set is infinitely better than 0. And maybe next week you could do 2 sets and start building on top of that. While I love doing the 1 set method, this next tactic is one of the most powerful ones you can use. It can actually change the way that you see yourself. It works like this. There was this one study that they did with voters, and I find this genuinely fascinating. Researchers split them into 2 groups. One group was asked the question, how important is it to vote? The other group was asked, how important is it to be a voter? Now, can you guess which group ended up with the most voters? It was the second group. Why? Because there's a massive difference between doing something and actually being something. Voting versus being a voter, which is why this next tactic is identity shifting. And this applies directly to working out. There is a massive difference between saying, I'm someone trying to get in shape, and yeah, I train. See, I even said it like a Giga Chad. Yeah, I train. With the eyebrow raise, it helps. I train. Damn right. Saying, I'm someone who's trying to get in shape, subconsciously implies in your head you are not in shape. And people who aren't in shape don't exercise, leaving you room for tons of excuses. But saying, yeah, I train, implies you are actively working on yourself physically, which means you do train. And it is who you are as a person. Oh, but Kevin, isn't this just lying to myself? Well, actually it isn't. The moment that you commit to this journey and try to become the protagonist of your own story, you already become somebody who works out, whether you like it or not. The truth is, most of you need to realize your new identity rather than create your new identity. So next time someone asks you if you work out, don't say, yeah, I'm just trying to get into it. Say, yeah, I train. Now this next tactic is similar to identity shifting, but it is slightly different. I call it the protagonist effect. Kind of works like this. Researchers gave kids some very boring, mundane tasks, and they split these kids into 2 groups. In the first group, they just let the kids do their thing. And of course, being kids, they were complaining, whining, like, oh, I know I have to do this task, it's so boring, oh my god. But the second group, they not only outperformed the first group, but they actually completed significantly more tasks despite getting the same tasks. Now, the difference between group 2 and group 1 was that the researchers told the kids in group 2 perform the tasks as if you were Batman, and it actually worked. Turns out adopting a persona actually just makes you perform better by default. And you can literally use the same trick in your training. Just like identity shifting, you are changing the way that you see yourself, but this time it is a bit of a lie, because you ain't Batman. So next time you're in the gym or you're preparing for a home workout, don't be yourself. Be Sung Jin-woo. How would Sung Jin-woo approach this training? Would he stop at 8 reps because it got difficult? Would he be complaining the whole time looking for excuses? Absolutely not. Or you could be Toji, the man who literally trained his body to be relentlessly durable and strong because he ain't got no cursed energy. So pick a character, Sung Jin-woo, Toji, Gojo, Goku, whoever you want to be, and train just like them. Now, this next tactic is going to completely change the way that you view hard work. And nobody reflects this more than Itadori Yuji. One of the moments that genuinely hit me hard in JJK was in the Culling games. Itadori, under the domain of Higuruma, admits to destroying Shibuya and killing hundreds of thousands, even though it was technically Sukuna controlling Itadori's body. But even if it was technically and legally not Itadori's fault, he accepts full responsibility anyway. And that single moment, that just one episode, explains all of Itadori's motivation and MO completely. It explains his conviction, his attitude, his work ethic, his training ethic, and it's the reason why he's one of the greatest protagonists of our generation. He does not blame anybody else. He doesn't make excuses, because everything in his grasp he treats as his responsibility. And adopting this mindset will completely transform you and how you approach training and working hard, which is why we're going to be using what I call the choice rule. A lot of people who don't bother trying to change their situation fall into a trap of blaming everything around them. They accept their own circumstances, and that's why they stay the same, because they think it's out of my control. But those who see the world and everything that happens around them as like a consequence of their own actions, they start to break out of that mentality. Even if you don't think it's true, believing that it is gives you so much freedom and control over everything you do now, because now you are 100% control of your own life. You choose to start working out. Nobody is forcing you to, and nobody is trying to stop you. Nothing is trying to stop you, which means that the reason you have or don't have an anime physique is all on you and nothing else. If you win, it's on you. But if you lose, it's also on you. And the moment you adopt this mindset shift, you stop waiting for perfect conditions just to show up. You stop waiting for motivation to arrive before you act, because you understand that you're the one holding the pen and you are writing your own story. And most importantly, you choose hard work and suffering because you know that it's necessary. So when times get tough, say this out loud. This task is difficult. I know it's difficult, but I'm doing it anyway. Now, with this next tactic, it's what's going to separate the protagonists from the NPCs. And for this, I want you to think about the Hunter exam from Hunter x Hunter. The barrier to entry for getting your Hunter license is so brutal that the vast majority of candidates never get there. Running, fighting, even cooking, all tests to see if you're Hunter worthy or not. Only the absolute best can survive and pass that barrier and actually call themselves Hunters, while 90% of guys will fall short of that type. Now, that's a fictional exam. What does that have to do with us? Well, there's actually a very similar barrier to fitness and getting an anime physique. And that's why I call this next tactic the limit breaker. There's going to be a point in the journey where motivation will start to fade. That initial excitement of getting into working out is going to die, and things are going to feel genuinely hard. And if you've gone through this journey before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That wall usually hits somewhere within weeks 3 to 6. And this is the exact point 90% of people stop. You wonder if it's even worth it, if you're even actually getting results, and then you start putting off the workouts until tomorrow. And before you know it, you've hit the barrier and you've completely given up. But here's what most people don't realize. That wall is actually a lot easier to get through than you think. And knowing that 90% of people stop at this point means that the only way to get past that barrier is to simply not give up. I know. Monkey brain simple, stupid, but let me explain, let me cook. The path to becoming the top 10% of people has never been more achievable. Not because it isn't hard, but because almost every single person just cannot take it when it does get hard. And getting past that wall, that feeling of, oh, why am I doing this? It feels like a constant battle going up to that point. But once you make it, it just feels like you're sledding downhill. You lock in your habits, you've built momentum, and you become genuinely unstoppable. So the next time you hit that wall, I want you to tell yourself this. This is the exact moment where most people will quit. I am not like most people. I'm better than that. And all I have to do, put another foot in front of the other. But for this next tactic, I'm gonna hit you guys a little differently, depending on where you are at in your journey, and it might actually offend some of you. Do I care? No. I'm just going to say it straight up. Some of you guys need to realize your privilege. If you have a body that can move, you have the ability to get stronger, you have the ability to transform your physique and your health, that is genuinely a gift that a lot of people would pay to have. A lot of regrets that people in their 80s and 90s have is that they wish that they could go back to their youth and move like they used to. So let me ask you this. What are you doing with this gift? Imagine somebody gave you a new iPhone for your birthday and you're like, hey, I'm gonna shove this up my ass. And instead you stuff it in a drawer and never use it. That is incredibly disrespectful to the person that gave you the gift. And this is exactly what you're doing every time you choose your own comfort over your own potential. One of our Shonen Strength members is a single father of 5 kids. He works full time. He almost has no free time for himself. But look at him. Look at his transformation. Look! He is a guy who understands his gift, his privilege, and does not squander it. And here's the most humbling part. When you see somebody on Instagram, you're scrolling through social media, and you see somebody who's stronger and more disciplined than you, you come up with excuses and reasons why you're not them. But when you see somebody who's genuinely disadvantaged, who doesn't have as much mobility as you or strength as you, yet they do it anyway, that is the real wake-up call. That is when you truly realize your privilege. You have been given a tremendous gift. Your body, your health, your youth, your mobility. Use it. But even with all the pep talk and mindset in the world, you're still not going to do anything, because none of that matters if you don't have the right system to follow to go along with all that mindset crap. So click this video right here if you want to build more muscle in 90 days than most people do in a single year.